reading back your stories, and some of them really, really resonated with me. And I feel like that maybe I've been using this channel lately as sort of a distraction from my loneliness and the real stuff that's happening behind the scenes. I've been doing it way too much lately. And it's kind of a pattern of mine whenever there's something emotionally heavy that I need to deal with or something very overwhelming. I tend to fall back into, performance mode, because that's pretty much how I was taught to deal with a lot of this stuff in childhood. And then, of course, it was reinforced a lot throughout my adult life and the environments that I was in the United States. And I think that's why last week I was like, I'll just put out these pre-recorded videos that I had planned to put out for the 4th of July anyway. I was going to do some more cutting of them and everything before I actually launched them, but I just didn't. I just put them out, unfinished. And looking back now, I shouldn't have, because they weren't finished. They weren't videos that I was 100% happy with. But I didn't go live last week at all, and I didn't really put much out, and I felt obligated to give you guys something, but I wasn't really ready to do something new. But I do feel like now that I'm reading through a lot of your comments and catching back to a lot of your emails that I do owe you an honest, raw update, and not a pre-produced, hey, everything is fine now video, because it's not. I have to be honest about that. I have been looking back at a couple of the videos for over the past month or so, and I feel like I might have been in kind of a downfall, so to speak, for a couple months. I can just really see, as I'm going back through some of the catalog over the last couple months, that it's kind of a slow burn of leading up to what happened last week, because I thought I was taking care of myself, but I really wasn't, because I was distracting myself either with more work or with BS entertainment behind the scenes, or not really doing the hardcore work, not really facing the realities that I have to face behind the scenes. So I kind of want to apologize, because I know my work hasn't been the best, and it definitely could have been a lot more honest, and I don't want to say honest because everything I say is honest, but a lot more just authentic and a lot less carefully manicured, I guess. So, actual update, yeah. I'm doing okay. I'm doing a little bit better. I took some time to wallow in my self-pity and be upset, and which, I don't let myself do enough, to be honest. My partner's been around. He actually had off this week anyway. My child has been home because there's been teacher strikes at her school. So we've had a lot of time together as a family, and, that's definitely what always pulls me through. So we've done some things. I've used some of it to deal with things that I'd been putting off, and have conversations with them about where I really was, that I didn't want to have. But there's nothing I can do but be honest, right? I took control of a few things behind the scenes that I had mentioned a little bit about in that video. And I feel like I have a bit of a plan to have a little bit more control over some of the things I felt like I was losing control over, or that someone else was taking control over my life, of that portion of my life. But after I said that video, I think the biggest thing that I was coping with was that it felt a lot like when I lost my dad and I lost my sister. You know, it felt like I had lost my mom. And I think that's where a lot of that was coming from. It felt like grief that, you know, you have to deal with a situation. If anyone's had to deal with those situations, you know what I'm talking about. And this time I had the freedom and the opportunity to actually take time to feel whatever I was feeling and deal with it in a healthy way rather than just pushing through like I had to for those two quite significant events in my life. Nothing's really resolved. I'm still pretty emotional, as you could probably tell. I'm definitely still exhausted from all of this. So I'm sure you can see I'm not looking my best. But I'm just trying to focus on getting a lot of rest and breathing and just doing what I know I can do throughout each day. I don't know what's next for me. And I'm a little bit nervous because I'm not sure what's next for the channel either. I want to be completely honest. I'm not talking about shutting down. This isn't like you're never going to see me again kind of video. I'm definitely going to continue to keep this video, keep the channel going. But it's really hard. It's a lot harder than I thought it would be to do this full time on my own and being this free. I love that things stop and start with me, but I also feel a lot of pressure from it, and I'm really nervous about making a bad choice because there's no one else around me to catch it, and I don't want to have to go back to work full time. If I don't have, of course, I always will do what I have to do to make sure my family is okay. But if I have any chance to not, I would really like to not. This is a tough position for me because it's really new. I'm basically trying to be a cycle breaker from the child. I'm trying to not repeat patterns, you know, from my family. And that comes with a lot of uncertainty and a lot of second guessing. You know, you don't have a path laid out before you. You're literally creating your own path. And it's a lot to bear. I don't know if it's a lot more to bear than anything else you have in your life, but it's definitely heavier than anything I've at least had to bear. Because you have to be completely honest with everyone, including yourself, which is hard. See, this is why sometimes I like a script to go by, because I can control my emotions a little bit better and stop and start and edit. But I just really want my child to have a different life, which is part of the reason why we're here. And I feel like sometimes if I take my foot off the gas even a little bit, then I'm going to lose momentum. And then all this work that we've done, not just for this channel, but in my whole life, to get to this point, to change the cycle for her, was all for nothing. And you know, I don't want to waste it all this time. I want her to have something better and different. That could be my hustle culture avoidance thing coming in, though. You know, that second guessing, because that's a familiar pattern that's coming back to me. So, you know, just battling that pretty much on a daily 24/7 365 basis. Anyway, obviously not fully out from under all that yet. So I have about a half a dozen pre-recorded videos that I already had edited and ready to go, or just about ready to go. I don't want to come off as inauthentic, but they're there, and they're real thoughts and honest thoughts about the journey and everything. So I don't know if you guys want to see them on regular uploads. Thursdays and Sundays, or do you want me to hold them until and just keep doing these kinds of updates until I'm ready to like kind of come back in full force? I'm definitely not ready to do lives yet. Reading comments and stuff is a bit overwhelming. You know, most of you guys have been amazing, but you know, the internet's gonna internet, and you know, sometimes it's when you're in an emotional state, it's hard to hear, you know, take criticism and stuff sometimes. But I also don't want to feel like I'm disappearing or I'm letting you guys down or I'm forgetting about what we've built together, because this is really important to me to keep it going as well. I just don't really know what the next move is, honestly. So please let me know what you think.